Section 1. It was late in the evening when the house finally became quiet. The television in the living room had gone silent, the kitchen lights had been switched off, and the usual noises of the day had faded into the background. Only the ticking of the wall clock and the faint hum of the ceiling fan filled the air. I lay in bed, staring into the dim light that leaked from the hallway, pretending to be relaxed, pretending to be at peace. But inside me there was no peace. For weeks, I had noticed small changes in him. He no longer came to bed at the same time as me. He lingered in the living room, scrolling endlessly on his phone, whispering into it as though his words needed to be hidden. Sometimes when I asked him about it, he brushed me off with excuses. Work emails, messages from friends, or just something important. I wanted to believe him. I tried to. But the uneasiness in my chest told me there was more to it than he admitted. That night, I decided I couldn't just wonder anymore. I needed to know the truth. So when I slipped under the blanket, I made a choice. I would not really sleep. Instead, I would pretend. I slowed down my breathing, closed my eyes halfway, and positioned myself in the bed just as I would if I had truly surrendered to sleep. I told myself I had to be still, patient, and unflinching no matter what happened. I heard the soft creak of the door as he entered the room. His steps were careful, almost hesitant, as though he didn't want to disturb me. The mattress dipped slightly under his weight, and for a moment, I felt the familiar comfort of his presence beside me. But tonight, that comfort was laced with suspicion. I kept my body calm and my eyes closed, listening to every movement. My heart beat so loudly in my ears that I feared he might hear it. He shifted slightly, then leaned closer to me. I could almost feel his gaze on my face, watching, checking if I was truly asleep. I forced myself not to flinch, not to react. When he seemed convinced, I felt the weight of the blanket move as he quietly slipped away. I heard the faint sound of his footsteps, careful and calculated, moving toward the corner of the room where his phone rested. My stomach tightened. I knew something was about to happen, and I was about to witness it. Not with my eyes, but with my ears, my heart, and my aching suspicion. In that silence, in that darkness, I realized the night would not pass as peacefully as I had once wished. Section 2. Suspenseful discovery. Hidden actions revealed. I kept my breathing steady, the way a person in deep sleep would. Every inhale and exhale had to be perfect, every small twitch controlled. If he suspected I was awake, the truth would vanish behind another wall of excuses. From the corner of the room came the faintest sound, the click of his phone unlocking. The glow of the screen painted a soft light across the walls, though I dared not open my eyes to see it. He hesitated, almost as if reassuring himself that I was truly lost in sleep. Then, in a low whisper, I heard him speak. "Hey, I'm here now." The words were gentle, tender, too tender. Not the kind of voice he used when talking to me these days. This was softer, almost affectionate, the kind of tone a person saves for someone they deeply care about. My chest tightened, and I swallowed the lump in my throat, careful not to give myself away. He chuckled under his breath, the kind of laugh I hadn't heard from him in weeks. It was a laugh full of warmth and excitement, not the tired sighs he usually gave me when I tried to start a conversation. I strained my ears, each word he whispered slicing through me like a blade. "I miss you too." My body froze. I wanted to gasp, to sit up, to demand answers. But I stayed still, every part of me burning with silent pain. He continued, his words flowing freely now, believing I was asleep, believing his secret was safe. "I can't stay long, she's right here." The way he said it, the casual mention of me lying just inches away from him, made my heart race with a mix of anger and heartbreak. My suspicion was no longer suspicion. It was real. It was happening right in front of me. I listened as he spoke about plans, about meeting soon, about how much he longed for the other person's touch, their voice, their presence. Each phrase shattered another piece of me. My mind screamed for me to wake up and confront him, but my body refused to move. It was as if I was paralyzed by the weight of the truth. The sound of his whispers blended with the ticking clock, every second dragging out my agony. He laughed again, softer this time, almost shyly. And then I heard the words that broke me completely. "I wish I could be with you right now instead." I closed my eyes tighter, tears threatening to escape. My breathing faltered for just a moment, and I prayed he didn't notice. My entire world felt as though it had tilted off balance, but I forced myself to stay still, because I needed to hear everything. I needed the whole truth. And in that silence, with my heart breaking inch by inch, I realized this night was only the beginning of a darker truth I had yet to face. Section 3. The climax. Silent pain, emotional turmoil. As I lay there, still pretending to be asleep, the weight of his words pressed against me like a heavy stone on my chest. My breathing felt harder to control now, every inhale trembling under the strain of my breaking heart. I wanted to cry, to scream, to demand how he could whisper love to another person while I was lying right beside him. But I stayed still, trapped between silence and the desperate need to know more. My mind raced in 1,000 directions. Memories began flashing before me. Our wedding day, the long walks we once shared, the way he used to hold my hand so tightly as though I was the only person in the world for him. All of those images collided with the sound of his gentle laugh as he whispered to someone else. The contrast was unbearable. I realized then that betrayal didn't always come crashing down with loud confessions or explosive arguments. Sometimes it arrived quietly, in hushed tones, in the flicker of a phone screen, in the calm assurance that your partner was asleep and unaware. That was the deepest cut of all, the confidence with which he betrayed me. He was sure, absolutely sure. I heard him pause, perhaps listening to the voice on the other side of the line. Then he whispered, "No, she has no idea. She's fast asleep. Don't worry." My stomach churned. He was lying for me, about me, as if my existence was nothing more than an obstacle in his hidden world. And yet, I remained silent, lying there with my body stiff and cold, because I wanted him to continue. I wanted to hear every word that confirmed the truth I had feared for weeks. He spoke of longing, of promises to meet soon, of stolen time that only belonged to the two of them. His words were laced with excitement, with passion I hadn't heard in so long. It was as though the version of him I once loved had been given to someone else, while I was left with the empty shell of what remained. Tears slid down the side of my face, dampening the pillow, but I wiped them quickly, terrified he might notice. I had to endure this. I had to keep pretending. Because in that moment, I knew something with absolute clarity. Tonight, he revealed his truth, but tomorrow would be mine. Eventually, after several minutes of hushed conversations, he ended the call. I heard the faint click of his phone, the shuffle of his steps as he returned to the bed. The mattress dipped under his weight again. He lay down beside me, so close that I could feel the warmth of his body, the steady rhythm of his breathing. He believed I was lost in dreams, unaware. But I was wide awake. And though I hadn't moved, everything inside me had changed. Section 4. Resolution, aftermath, decision, reflection. The night passed in restless silence. I didn't sleep at all. I lay there frozen, staring at the inside of my eyelids, listening to the faint sounds of him drifting off into peaceful slumber, while I carried the sharp weight of betrayal in my chest. Every time I thought of his whispers, my heart ached all over again. When morning came, the sunlight crept into the room, spilling across the sheets and onto his face. He stirred, stretched, and greeted me with the same ordinary smile he always wore, as though nothing had happened. I responded with equal calm, masking the storm inside me. He truly believed I hadn't seen or heard a thing. That was his mistake. I moved through the morning routine as if everything was normal. I made coffee, set breakfast on the table, and nodded at his casual conversations. All the while my mind was elsewhere, replaying every word, every laugh, every promise he had given to someone else. I was no longer the same person who had lain down in that bed the night before. I had heard the truth, and with it my world had shifted. I didn't confront him immediately. Something inside me told me to wait, to plan, to decide carefully what my next step would be. Confrontation in anger might give him the chance to deny, to twist the truth, to blame me for suspecting him. But now I didn't just suspect, I knew. As the day went on, I watched him more closely than ever. His phone never left his side. He smiled at his screen in ways he hadn't smiled at me in months. He thought he was clever, thought his secret was safe. But I carried a new kind of power now, the power of knowledge. I began to see him differently. Every word he spoke, every laugh, every touch of his hand felt foreign. I couldn't decide yet if I wanted to confront him, to expose him, to end everything we had built. Or if I wanted to gather more proof, to let him dig himself deeper into the lies. But what I knew for sure was that the bond we once shared was already broken. Infidelity is not always about the body. It begins in the mind, in the heart, in those secret conversations when your partner is asleep. And once that boundary is crossed, trust can never return the same way again. That night taught me more than I ever wanted to know. He was sure that I was sleeping, but I wasn't. I was awake and I saw everything, I heard everything, I felt everything. He thought his lies were safe in the dark, but in the silence of that room, the truth screamed louder than ever. And as I stood there later that day, looking at him across the room, I knew one thing. I might still be silent, but I would never be blind again.